Good evening. Before we begin, let me ask you something simple. How do you usually feel when your head hits the pillow at night? For many people, especially as we get older, bedtime is the first quiet moment of the day. The TV goes off, the house settles, and for a few hours, life finally slows down. Sleep is meant to be the time when the body recovers, when the heart eases its pace, and when tomorrow quietly gets prepared. But here's something most people aren't told clearly enough. Sleep doesn't just happen to the body, it's something the body responds to, based on how the day ends. I'm not here to scare you, and I'm certainly not here to tell you that you're doing everything wrong. In fact, many of the habits people bring into sleep feel perfectly normal, especially after 50 or 60. They're routines we've built over years, sometimes decades. Tonight, I want to take a calmer approach. I want to talk about what quietly happens to the heart during sleep, why certain nighttime patterns matter more than most people realize, and how small, thoughtful adjustments can make nights gentler on the body. Nothing extreme, nothing complicated. Just awareness, clarity, and a better understanding of how sleep and heart health are connected, especially at this stage of life. Let's start by looking at why the heart behaves differently at night, and why that matters more than most people think. As we get older, many of us start to think of sleep as something simple. You lie down, close your eyes, and let the night take over. If you wake up in the morning, you assume everything went just fine, and most of the time, that's true. But the heart experiences sleep a little differently than we tend to imagine. During the day, the heart responds to movement, conversation, emotion, and activity. At night, everything slows down. Breathing becomes gentler, muscles relax, and the nervous system begins to shift into a quieter mode. This is meant to be a restorative time, not just for the mind, but for the heart as well. What often gets overlooked is that the heart doesn't simply switch off when we fall asleep. It adjusts. Blood pressure changes, heart rate lowers, and the way oxygen moves through the body becomes more subtle. For most people, this process happens smoothly and naturally. However, after the age of 50 or 60, the body doesn't always adjust in exactly the same way it once did. That doesn't mean something is wrong. It simply means the heart has different needs than it did years ago. Many people assume that feeling tired, sleeping lightly, or waking once or twice at night is just part of getting older. And in many cases, it is. But it can also be a sign that the body is working a little harder at night than it needs to. I often hear people say, "I sleep well enough for my age," or "No one my age sleeps perfectly." There's a lot of truth in that. Yet it's also worth understanding that normal doesn't always mean optimal. This isn't about worrying or looking for problems. It's about awareness. When we understand that the heart continues to work quietly through the night, we start to see sleep as something active, not passive. The good news is that the heart is remarkably responsive. Small changes in how we approach rest, comfort, and routine can make nights easier on the body. And those changes don't require perfection or major lifestyle shifts. Before we talk about what those adjustments look like, it's important to recognize one simple idea. Sleep is not just a break from the day. It's a conversation between the body and the heart. And like any good conversation, how it begins makes a difference. For the heart, it becomes easier to notice a few common habits that quietly shape how the body handles the night. These aren't mistakes in the dramatic sense. They're everyday choices, often made with good intentions that simply deserve a closer look. Let's start with something very ordinary: drinking less water in the evening. Many people do this to avoid waking up during the night, and that makes sense. No one enjoys broken sleep. But when the body goes too long without fluids, circulation can become a little less efficient overnight. This doesn't mean drinking large amounts before bed. It's more about not avoiding fluids altogether for hours. A small amount earlier in the evening is often enough to support the body without disrupting rest. Another common habit has to do with how we sleep. Lying flat on the back feels natural and familiar, especially if it's how you've always slept. But as we get older, the way the body manages fluid and breathing can change slightly. Some people notice they sleep more comfortably with a gentle incline or an extra pillow. This isn't something to worry about. It's simply the body responding to what feels easier and more supportive at night. Then there are sleep aids and nighttime helpers. These can include over-the-counter products, supplements, or medications prescribed for rest or discomfort. Many people use them occasionally and without any trouble. Still, it's worth being mindful that some of these can affect breathing patterns or how deeply the body relaxes during sleep, especially later in life. This doesn't mean avoiding them altogether, but rather being thoughtful and, when needed, asking whether they're still the best option for you. Another area people often overlook is nighttime symptoms they've grown used to. Snoring, waking with a dry mouth, light headaches in the morning, or feeling tired despite a full night in bed can all feel like normal signs of aging. And sometimes they are. But they can also be gentle signals from the body asking for a bit more attention, not urgent, just worth noticing. What all these habits have in common is that they don't feel harmful. They feel familiar, comfortable, easy to dismiss. And that's exactly why they often stay unchanged for years. This isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about becoming more aware of how small patterns add up over time. When we look at sleep this way, it stops being something that simply happens to us. It becomes something we can support with small, thoughtful adjustments. Before we move on, it's helpful to keep one idea in mind. The body is very good at adapting. Sometimes those adaptations show up as habits we barely notice. Paying attention to them isn't about fixing a problem. It's about giving the heart a little more ease during the hours it works quietly for us. Up to this point, we've talked about habits, routines, and small adjustments. But there's one factor that quietly influences everything else. And it's something many people don't think of as part of heart health at all. It's the state we bring into sleep. Most of us think of stress as a daytime issue. It's tied to work, family responsibilities, finances, news, or conversations that linger longer than we'd like. When the day ends, we expect sleep to wash all of that away. But the body doesn't always make that distinction so cleanly. If we go to bed feeling tense, mentally busy, or emotionally unsettled, the nervous system doesn't instantly switch into rest mode. It carries that tone forward. Breathing stays a little quicker. Muscles remain slightly engaged. The heart continues to receive signals that suggest alertness rather than recovery. This doesn't mean something is wrong. It means the body is doing exactly what it's designed to do, respond to cues. Many people tell me that nighttime is when their thoughts get louder. The house is quiet, distractions are gone, and the mind starts replaying conversations, worries, or plans for tomorrow. That experience is incredibly common, especially later in life when responsibilities don't disappear, they just change shape. What's often missed is that the heart responds to this mental activity in subtle ways. When the nervous system stays on edge, even gently, the heart doesn't fully settle into its most restful rhythm. It continues working just a bit harder than it needs to. This isn't about blame, it's about understanding connection. During healthy, restorative sleep, the body is meant to shift into a slower gear. Heart rate eases, blood pressure softens. Repair processes quietly take place. But this shift depends on the signals the nervous system receives before and during sleep. If the body senses calm, safety, and closure, it responds accordingly. If it senses unresolved tension, overstimulation, or mental noise, it stays partially alert. Many people assume that because they're lying down, with their eyes closed, rest is automatically happening. But rest isn't just a posture, it's a state. This is why two people can sleep for the same number of hours and wake feeling very different. One feels restored, the other feels heavy, foggy, or oddly tired. The difference often isn't the mattress or the room, it's the internal environment the body was given overnight. The good news here is important. This is one of the most adjustable factors we've talked about. Creating a calmer transition into sleep doesn't require special equipment, medication, or dramatic lifestyle changes. It's less about adding something new and more about allowing space. Think of it as giving the day a clear ending. A short wind-down period, even 15 or 20 minutes, can signal to the body that it's safe to shift gears. That might mean dimming the lights, turning off stimulating screens, or choosing quieter activities. It might mean stretching gently, breathing slowly, sitting with a cup of tea, or simply allowing a few moments of stillness. There's no single right way to do this. What matters is consistency and intention. When breathing slows, the heart often follows. This isn't a belief system, it's physiology. The nervous system responds to rhythm, repetition, and reassurance. Some people find it helpful to think of this time as a message to the body. The demands of the day are over. There's nothing left to solve right now. Over time, this simple practice can change how the heart behaves at night. Not dramatically, not overnight, but gradually, in a way that supports steadier rest and easier mornings. This is the turning point of our conversation, because even with good habits, comfortable sleep positions, and thoughtful routines, the heart does its best work at night when the body feels settled. As we move into the final part, we'll look at how all of this comes together in practical, gentle ways you can use tonight, without pressure and without needing to do everything perfectly. As we come to the end of this conversation, it's important to pause for a moment and take a breath. Everything we've talked about tonight isn't meant to feel heavy or overwhelming. In fact, it's meant to do the opposite. Heart health, especially as we get older, isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about creating conditions that make it easier for the body to do what it already knows how to do. And often, the most meaningful changes are also the simplest ones. Before sleep tonight, there are just a few gentle things worth keeping in mind, not as rules, but as options. Allow yourself to hydrate earlier in the evening without overthinking it. Make your sleeping position feel supportive and comfortable, even if that means a small adjustment. Be mindful of anything you use to help you sleep, and stay curious about how it makes your body feel. Notice nighttime patterns without judging them. And most importantly, give yourself a calmer transition from day to night. These aren't fixes, they're invitations. Sleep doesn't need to be something you force or chase. It works best when the body feels listened to, when the nervous system senses that it's safe to slow down. The heart often follows naturally. If tonight feels a little different because you're more aware, that's enough. Awareness alone can shift habits over time. You don't need to change everything at once, and you don't need to remember every detail. Even one small adjustment can make nights feel more settled and mornings a little easier. As we go forward, this channel will continue to explore health as a conversation, not a set of instructions. We'll talk about ways to support the heart, the body, and the mind, with clarity, balance, and respect for where you are in life. If you found this video helpful or reassuring, a simple way to support the channel is to give it a like. It helps this conversation reach others who may appreciate a calmer, more practical approach to health. You're also warmly invited to subscribe to Senior Health Conversations so you don't miss future videos. And if someone you care about might benefit from hearing this, feel free to share it with them. If you'd like, you can leave a comment below. You don't need to share anything personal. Even a short note about what stood out to you helps shape the conversations we have next. Thank you for spending this time with me. In the next video, we'll continue looking at simple, supportive ways to care for your health as life evolves. Until then, take tonight gently and let rest do what it's meant to do.